Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Natalia Moczulska, and this is the news. Prigozhin's rebellious army is advancing on Moscow. In other words, in Russia it has begun. Only it's not quite clear yet what. Is it a civil war or a military putsch? Certainly, the dispute between the Wagner Group and the Russian Defense Ministry is already an open military confrontation. There is panic in the Kremlin, chaos in Moscow, and Putin says that it is treason and a stab in the back. The response from Prigozhin's supporters is, "We will soon have a new president." On Friday, Yevgeny Prigozhin reported that Russian forces had attacked a Wagner Group mercenary camp. Earlier in the day, Prigozhin was declared a foreign intelligence agent by the Russian Federation. His dispute with the Russian Defense Ministry authorities has been going on for months, and yesterday it was about to enter a whole different level. Wagnerians crossed the border between Ukraine and the Russian Federation yesterday, heading toward the city of Rostov, which the Russians, or rather the Wagnerians, seized without a single shot fired, which may suggest that some Russian units under Russia's Ministry of National Defense have crossed over to Prigozhin's side or remain neutral in the conflict. Around noon, an explosion occurred in Rostov near the headquarters of the Southern Military District. The next objective of the Wagner Group on its way to Moscow was the Russian city of Voronezh. In the city, the Russian military was to shell the fuel depots to prevent them from falling into the hands of Wagner Group troops. Entire units of the Russian armed forces, including special forces, are moving to his side. Most of the commanders, both of the Federal Security Service, the Special Forces, and Armed Forces, are opportunists who will want to wait to see who is likely to win and then join that winning camp. And most likely these first reactions will be such. In an address to the Russian people, the leader of the Kremlin regime compared the putsch to the February Revolution of 1917, which was followed by the fall of the Tsar in the Russian Empire. We will not allow the civil war to happen again. We will protect our people and our statehood from all threats, including treason from within. What we are dealing with now is treason. Unreasonable ambitions and vested interests lead to treason, betrayal of the state and our own nation, and the common cause for which Wagner's fighters and commanders fought and died along with our other troops and brigades. It is worth mentioning that in his 5-minute address, the leader of the Kremlin regime did not once mention Yevgeny Prigozhin by name. As for betraying the motherland, President Putin is deeply mistaken. We are patriots. We have fought and are fighting. No one will surrender at the behest of the president, the Federal Security Service, or anyone else, because we don't want our country to continue to live in corruption, fraud, and bureaucracy. Prigozhin's goal is set to be the overthrow of the current government and change in the Kremlin. There are no soft options here. Russia is at this stage where it can only get bloodier, more violent, and indeed everything depends on whether it will be possible to restore the Kremlin's control on very bloody terms, or we will have a fundamental breakthrough when it comes to changing the Kremlin team. There are also claims that the putsch is just a theatrical act planned by Putin. We cannot rule out the possibility that the whole situation has been orchestrated in this way, that for the Russians it may be a way to get out of the conflict with a face, that they nevertheless abandon their positions on the Ukrainian front, targeting the defeat of the coup or rebellion in Russia, and opening the way for diplomats to end the conflict in Ukraine in a way that will satisfy both sides. Authorities in Kiev are keeping a close eye on the situation in Russia. Russia has long masked the weakness and stupidity of its government with propaganda, and now there is such chaos that it cannot be hidden behind any lies. And it's all the fault of one person, who constantly scares people with the year 1917, even though he is incapable of anything else. Russia's weakness is obvious, and the longer Russia keeps its troops and mercenaries on our soil, the more chaos, pain, and problems it will have for itself later. Polish President Andrzej Duda also addressed the Russian putsch. With regard to the situation in Russia, we held consultations this morning with the Prime Minister and the Minister of Defense and with the allies. The course of events across our eastern border is being monitored on an ongoing basis. According to unofficial information, a National Security Council is to be convened in Warsaw in the next few days. Yesterday night, Russia launched more rockets, cruise missiles, and drones towards Ukrainian cities. The Russian attack on Kyiv left 3 people dead and more than a dozen wounded. Over the past 24 hours, 4 people have been killed in a Russian shelling in the Kherson region in southern Ukraine. It's obvious that for the Ukrainians, what's happening now in Russia is favorable, and this would be the best crucial moment to launch a counteroffensive. From Friday night to Saturday morning, Russian aggressor forces fired 20 rockets at Kyiv. All of them were shot down, but shrapnel from the missile fell on one apartment building. The number of people killed has risen to 3, and 8 people are now known to have been wounded. Emergency services rescued 24 people. 14 cruise missiles, 3 drones, and 3 missiles from S-300 anti-aircraft systems were also fired towards Zaporizhia. The invaders also attacked residential buildings and a transport company in Kherson, as well as a commercial facility in Boryslav. Among the 6 injured is 1 child. Passengers taking the highway to the Polish seaside resort city of Hel are no longer able to travel on bus 666 after the local public transport operator changed the number of a service traveling to the popular Polish destination following criticism from religious groups. The new 669 summer bus service started running earlier today. Hel is a magnet for holiday makers who are attracted by its sandy beaches and forest trails.
For point of view of a tourist, when you say Hel, it's the hell which comes into his mind, like it's the hell with double L, okay? So, but in fact, here it's not hell, it's hell with only 1 L, and everybody is having fun here, and it's just touristic.
Tourists and locals alike have long seen the funny side of the name, and for many, bus 666, referencing the number of the beast, which is associated with Satan, was a harmless joke. The 6s are associated with hell, and hell is associated with the English word hell. So why not have a bus with a number that is connected to the destination? In my opinion, it doesn't offend any religious sensitivities of the average Pole in any way. And if someone has a problem with that, then apparently they have a problem with themselves. However, not everybody found it amusing, and the service had run into criticism from some people who felt it offended their religious sensitivities. The management board made the decision to change the bus number from 666 to 669. The decision stems from the fact that the management board doesn't want to be controversial, and they are aware that maybe some passengers traveling on the 666 bus didn't feel comfortable taking the route to Hel. That's why the number was changed to the less controversial one. The bus company said it had been receiving complaints from individuals and Christian groups for almost 10 years. Poland conducted a test launch of missiles with its new Mała Narew short-range air defense system on Thursday. The system combines Polish and British elements and will complement the middle-range systems deployed in northern Poland along the Baltic coast, neighboring Russia's enclave of Kaliningrad. Later in June, these systems will be on duty, so they will be protecting the Polish sky against any potential attacks with cruise missiles or drones. One launcher can simultaneously hit 8 targets. In the post-Soviet systems, all launchers were focused on one target. The radars and trucks that transport the launchers are of Polish manufacture, while the launchers and rockets are from Great Britain. Poland has seen numerous incidents recently, with an unauthorized flying object entering the country's airspace from neighboring Belarus in May. In February, 2 Dutch F-35 fighters intercepted a formation of 3 Russian military aircraft near Poland and escorted them out. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Please stay tuned for Poland Daily Weather, Poland Daily Business, and some of our other programs. But for me, it's have a wonderful evening.